All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 283. And today, I want to do something kind of silly. First things first, if you have forgotten, Kiri Callaghan's brand new book, The Earth Witch's Guide to Magic and Murder, is available now at all major book retailer thingy mabob things. So go pick up a copy. Go pick up 12. Give them out as party favors, as Christmas gifts. It's a lovely book, and Kiri Callaghan is a friend of mine. I think she's wonderful. And as an author, I've read two of her other books. They were phenomenally good. I haven't had a chance to sink my teeth into this one yet because my brain doesn't like me. But all the reviews I've been seeing, people love it. So please pick up the book. It's amazing. It's wonderful. There will be links in the description to do that. All right. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Critical Role. So I watched the second episode of Critical Role, and had a bad brain night last night. Started effectively having a panic attack in the middle of the episode, and had to actually go and lie down. I recently purchased a weighted blanket in an attempt to try and get some of my anxiety to a manageable level, especially since, due to the fact that my brain associates going to bed with bad things happening, because I have seizures. I wake up into seizures on a fairly regular basis, and other fun stuff. A lot of times when I go to bed, I have an anxiety attack or a full-on panic attack. And so last night's episode, I had to go lie down just because my brain was being mad. I put my weighted blanket on, which does help a little bit. It's still, I've only had it for like less than a week. So I'm still kind of getting used to it, and my brain's still kind of getting used to it, but it did help a little bit. Unfortunately, it helped so much they started like fading in and out of consciousness, and so due to the fact that very minor spoilers here, not about anything that actually was talked about in the episode, but just the format, the episode involved like some flashbacks scenes and like jumping around to different places. And with my brain in the way that it was, I did not understand half of what was going on, and I got very confused, which just made the anxiety worse. So I will probably like read the recap of that one before the next episode, just to kind of get it into my brain. Not saying that, Brendan did a horrible job. No, it's just my brain didn't like that particular format. Anyway, that's not actually what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about something that I have done for almost every Critical Role campaign, which is I create a character for the campaign. And what I mean by that is, after the campaign gets started, I go, well, if I was playing in this game, what would I want to play? And then I build a character about it. For Critical Role's first campaign, you guys have heard me talk about this before. The first 5th edition character that I ever played is a shadow monk named Aether. And if you go back on this channel, you can probably find a video that was done in the style of... and this is going to be something that you wouldn't know this was a thing, because now it's been kind of erased off the internet. But in early episodes of Critical Role, and when I say early, I mean really early, like the first few dozen episodes of Critical Role, they had this thing where every character they made a an intro video for it, and the way that they did it, and this is the reason why it doesn't exist anymore, is they found artwork that kind of linked to the character's story, and then they basically did. I can't remember the technique anymore. There's a documentary filmmaker whom here's a fun fact. I've actually worked with them. Like the one paid acting gig I had was for this documentary filmmaker, which is bonkers. But they pioneered this style of thing that if any film nuts will know the name of this person, and I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But they pioneered this technique where they would have pictures. And what they would do is they would zoom in and kind of pan across the pictures as dialogue was spoken over the top of it. And then slowly it would zoom out to show the entire picture. That is an actual film technique now, and it's named after this documentary filmmaker. Who, again, I have worked for, which is really bizarre, but it's a thing. And so these little intros were literally that. They'd have the cast narrate in the character's voice the kind of backstory of the character, and it would do these kind of slow pans over artwork and stuff. Unfortunately, they didn't actually own the artwork. I believe some of it was actually like Magic the Gathering artwork and stuff like that. And we all know that Wizards of the Coast is a completely non-litigious company and has never, ever in the history of the company ever, like, I don't know, sent the Pinkertons after someone because they were worried about something that they own the copyright on leaking before it was supposed to be leaked. So anyway, if you go back to those old episodes, they used to play them, I think, during the break and during the intro before the starting soon screen. Any of those that are still technically part of the broadcast over on Geek and Sundry, all of the art is censored. Like it's just a big fuzzy box because again they didn't own the rights to that. But I actually made something like that for the intro of my own character that I had created for the Critical Role Campaign 1. Now, the interesting thing about that character is eventually I was running the D&D program for a local convention, and one of the tables didn't have enough players to play. You need a minimum of 3 in the Adventures League in order for the table to play. And so I had already kind of decided that, yeah, if there was any... I actually didn't sign up for any games the entire weekend. I was just going to effectively be a floating player where any time somebody needed players in order for the game to work, I would just jump in. And so this particular adventure... was a tier 2 adventure, and one of the things that you could do back then was if you were a GM, every game that you ran, you got these GM rewards that you could use to basically build characters at higher levels. And so I cashed in a bunch of my GM rewards from running games, running Adventures League games specifically. You had to run Adventures League games at my friendly local game store. And I cashed in a bunch of them to create a level 5 Shadow Monk, and I'm like, well, I already have a cool idea for a character, and so that's what I did. Is I used this character that I had come up with a concept for it, for Critical Role, but then I actually played it in the Adventures League, and I actually got pretty high. I took the character from level 5 all the way up to level 17, so made it all the way to tier. I think that's the end of tier 3, something like that. So yeah. So what I thought might be fun for today, 10 minutes into the video, is I just want to go over the characters. Go away, fly. Or gnat, or whatever you were. I hope I got you. I get, all lives are special and animals have, so all that. No, bugs need to die. And I get it, bugs are very important for the ecosystem, but... they can be part of someone else's ecosystem. I have massive, massive anxiety problems with bugs. So I thought it would be fun if we actually just went over the characters that I built including I just built a character for campaign 4. And just kind of talk about my process for making them, and kind of look at the character sheets, because all of them exist in D&D Beyond. I've gone and put them into D&D Beyond. Now, something interesting. I don't have a character on D&D Beyond for campaign 2, and I don't know if it was just I didn't make one, or what is equally likely is that I made a post in the Critical Role subreddit years and years and years ago, because I thought it would be fun to go, hey guys, I built a character for Critical Role. Who else builds characters for Critical Role? Let's talk about our characters here and stuff like that. And I actually went back, I think last night or the night before, just to look at that particular thread. And my memory is very different from what is actually there. But my memory was, I had like all these people telling me, hey, this is really unhealthy and it's kind of parasocial. You shouldn't be doing this. You should probably try and find some real people to play D&D with. And my response to them was always, I do. I run a D&D program for a friendly local game store, and I run 2 different D&D campaigns, and I'm probably starting a third. This was before I started doing my game for Zelda Universe. So it's like, it's not that I can't play D&D. I have people chomping at the bit to play in my games. This was just a fun thing to do. But I think that might have scared me off from doing it for campaign 2. Or if I did, I don't know where the character has gone. So I only have 3 characters, but they're all cool. And yeah, I thought it'd be fun to just do this. So let's look at my characters. This is my first character. His name is Uther. If you guys are wondering where I get like the artwork for any of these characters, this is all artwork that comes with D&D Beyond. Like, I've never, for these characters specifically, I have never uploaded custom art or anything. You can. I just have never done it because it's just not my thing. So this, if I remember correctly, this is actually a drow portrait. But this particular character, who I've created in every MMO I've played, in most TTRPGs, my test character is Aether. He technically started as an Eladrin monk. And he has dark black hair, and he actually has a scar on his left eye. He has a vertical cut going through his left eye. And so he wears his hair long to kind of cover it up, and he also has a tattoo that is supposed to kind of hide the scar. Now, obviously, that doesn't show up in this artwork because, for some bizarre reason, Wizards of the Coast did not decide to create that particular artwork. I know, kind of weird. But yeah, so this is Aether. If anyone's wondering what in the hell that was, right above this that I have cut off is the toolbar for D&D Beyond, and so this is all the stuff. So that's what that was. All right, so this is my character. He is a wood elf monk. Now, he started as a Eladrin, now he's a wood elf. What was that? Well, when I first created this character, Eladrin were not an approved race for the D&D Adventures League, and so I made him a high elf, which actually wasn't the best thing in the world because high elves didn't get bonuses to wisdom. They got bonuses to intelligence and dexterity, if I remember correctly. And so it actually wasn't a perfect fit, but I was like, no, this is the character concept I came up with. This is what I'm going to do. But I think in like the 3rd game I played with him, he got stunned by a Yeti, taken over to a 200-foot cliff, and dropped off of it. And the fall damage alone instantly killed him. Because I think he was only like level 6 at that point. Because again, it was like the 3rd game I'd played with this character. And so I didn't want to lose out on experience for that. We had a druid in the party who could cast reincarnation. We didn't have anyone that could cast revivify or revive or anything, but we had a druid that could cast reincarnation, which the way the spell worked back then was they would be resurrected, but you had to roll on a table for what race you would come back as. And I came back, luckily enough, as a wood elf, which is the perfect race for a monk, because I got bonuses to dexterity and wisdom. So this is him. And as you can see, like, he was a bit of a powerhouse. Armor class of 20. All of his saves are really high because monks at like level, I think 11 or 13, I can't remember which, they get proficiency in all saving throws. So he had good saving throws all around. And then the skills that I chose, he had the criminal background because I wanted him to be an assassin thief type character. And so he was really good at lying people. He had incredible insights because that's what he did. Obviously, good acrobatics. Perception was really useful. And then I had a high stealth score. And then for being a criminal spy, I got proficiency in thieves' tools. So effectively, I could use Aether as the rogue for the party because I could do almost anything a rogue could do aside from not having like expertise. But I didn't really need it because I had pretty good skills anyways. So yeah, it turned into a cool character. And then I don't have it here, but the magic items that I had, didn't I? I thought I added one. There we go. So yeah, Opal of the Ildrum. So I had quite a few kind of interesting things. I did get a Belt of Dwarven Kind, which helped for Constitution, so I was always getting my ass handed to me. The Ionian Stone of Regeneration was just something that I got from an adventure because nobody else wanted it. It's really not that useful a thing. So this one, you regain 15 hit points at the end of each hour. This pearly white spindle orbits your head, provided you have at least 1 hit points. Well, 15 hit points an hour really isn't that useful. Like, with it being a legendary item, it's kind of a worthless one. So eventually I replaced it with an Iron Stone of Protection, which just gave me an AC bump, which was significantly more useful for this character. And then the Opal of the Ildrune basically turned my dagger here into a dagger of fire, because what this does is you can transfer the Opal's magic to a non-magical item. And so I did it to a weapon. This weapon is now an uncommon magic weapon. It deals an extra 1d6 fire damage to any target it hits. So my dagger here, which was actually a sai, that was my kind of flavor for him, is he had 3 sai actually. He would keep 2 on each belt and 1 under his cloak on his back, and he would throw them, because that's another thing people don't realize. Sai, in addition to being bludgeoning weapons, not piercing weapons, they were thrown just as easily, and very often, if someone was using sai as a weapon, they would keep at least 1 spare on them so they could throw it, and then they wouldn't be completely disarmed when the person came close enough that they had to fight. So yeah, I updated this character to D&D Beyond a really long time ago, before it was as robust as it is now. So that's probably why the dagger doesn't have the plus 1d6 fire damage on it or anything like that. But yeah, that's for that dagger. And then the Trident of Warding, I never used. I was not proficient in tridents, so I never actually fought with the Trident of Warning, but it was a weapon of warning, which made it impossible for me to be surprised. It gave me advantage on initiative. So I always was attuned to it, but I just kept it on my back, and it was just there to be to be something that made it so it was harder for me to get hurt. And it came in clutch a lot. The old flavor of Rogue, Monk, before the 2024 refit, you could Stunning Strike anytime you hit somebody with an attack. And so there's one fight in particular where we got into this room, and these 4, I think they were beholder statues, animated, and we were kind of terrified, but I had advantage on initiative. So I went first, and what I did was using a combination of my super speed from being a monk and just hitting all the time. I went around, and for 2 turns, I stunned all 4 of these statues so that they never actually got a turn. I didn't do much damage, but I 100% saved our party from fighting 4 beholders. And it was... So yeah, that's what I used this character for, was I would just go in and stun the worst looking thing and then would kind of control the battle that way. And he was super fun too. So other stuff that I could do. The Cloak of Shadows thing was something I didn't get until much higher levels, but when I did get it, it's so useful. Because it just allows you to become invisible. And as a rogue style character, being able to be invisible at will was just incredibly useful. I didn't use my Minor Illusion cantrip very much. I cast Darkness all the time. Darkness was super, super fun to use. Silence I used quite a few different times. I remember one time I used the silence spell because we were coming to this fight where there was this spellcaster that was riding a wyvern. And so we knew where they were because we'd played really well and we'd kind of gotten the lay of the land before we had to go into the combat. And so what we did is we set up this kind of ambush where I cast the silence spell on top of this spellcaster. And then my buddy, who's playing this weird like fighter ranger rogue hybrid, shot from like, because he was using a longbow, so he shot from like 400 feet away the wyvern, and using action surge and a bunch of really good rolls, basically one shot the wyvern. So she was now perched on a corpse surrounded by silence and couldn't cast any spells, and it worked really, really well. So I use that all the time. And then dark vision at the beginning of any adventure when I played this character, I would just go, who doesn't have dark vision? Okay. I would go and I would cast dark vision on every single person. Well, dark vision doesn't require concentration and lasts for 8 hours. So what I would do is I would cast dark vision on everyone that needed it, and then I'd take a short rest to get all of my key points back, because it was 2 key points a pop. And then I had full key points, and we had an entire party with dark vision. And all it took was waiting an extra hour before we started adventuring. And so it was a really, really strong combination. So yeah, that was massively fun to do. And by the time I got to 17, my unarmed strike was doing a D10 of damage, because of course it was. Shadow Step was the other thing that I used constantly. I remember there was this one fight, we were in a sewer. We had no lights on because everyone had dark vision. And we were fighting an Utyug. Utyugs are rough for lower level characters. And they're really cool monsters to use against use against players. So one of the things the Utyugs can do is they have these weird appendage tongue things that have spikes on them, and if they hit you, they grapple you. And so we're fighting the Utyug, and I'm just like boo 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 boo, and I shadow step over to the Utyug. And the fun thing about shadow step is your first attack after it you have advantage on, which is good for me because I rolled like shit. So I go over and I do my monk thing. I'm not able to stun it. It hits me and grapples me. And the GM goes, "Oh, you're grappled, by the way." I said, "No, I'm not." And the GM was, "What do you mean?" I said, "It doesn't matter. Just go ahead and keep going." So they did. We got to my turn, and the GM reiterates, "It's like, you're grappled, so you can't move." I said, I shadow step to his other side, and then I punch him. And he's like, "Oh yeah, grappling doesn't mean anything because you can literally just teleport out of it." So yeah, shadow step I was using constantly. It was my favorite thing in the world to do. There was a puzzle that I technically broke in one of the adventures, because what you were supposed to do was, there was this bar that had 2 bars going off of it, and underneath of it was just fire. There was this big pit and fire. And what was supposed to happen was you had to have 2 characters go to the balance on this pole, go to the middle of it, and then equally walk out to each side, because the end of each pole was a wall, and on the wall were runes that had to be activated at the same time, or within, I think, 6 seconds, in order for this gate to open on the other side. Well, because I was a monk and I could run on walls and things like that, I went to the wall, ran across, hit one of the runes, teleported to the other side, hit the other one almost instantly, and the DM went, no, your teleportation doesn't work here, because he didn't want me breaking the puzzle. Which was fine, because then I just ran, because again, monk, then I just ran across it, because I could do that and did the exact same thing, because massively high acrobatics and speed. Like, again, at 17, my walking speed is 60 feet. So in a single turn with a dash, and my bonus action dash or teleport, I could go 180 feet. Like, I was fun. And then deflect missiles I used constantly as well. I also picked up the defensive duelist feat because, again, I was still getting hit. And in the newer version of the monk, they actually have the ability where they just have what's called deflect attack instead of deflect missiles, where the old flavor of monk, if someone hit you with a melee attack, there wasn't anything you could do about it. But anytime someone tried to hit you with a missile attack, you could use your reaction to deflect missiles, and you could throw it back if you wanted. I have no idea why it says 1d10 plus 21, though. I don't know where the 21 is coming from. Oh, no, that's how much damage I could reduce. So, yeah, it was, you could reduce the damage of the attack by 1d10 plus your monk level plus, I think, your dexterity. Which, yeah, makes sense, because 17 plus 4 is 21. So, yeah, I could reduce damage from any missile attack by 21. Or 1d10 by plus 21. So technically up to 31. And then you reduced it to 0. You could throw it back. I didn't do this very often because it just wasn't as good a use for my my key. But it was still something I did ever so often. And then, yeah, so I picked up defensive duelist because I just kept getting knocked unconscious. And so defensive duelist effectively allowed me to do a similar thing to deflect missiles, but instead of reducing damage, I just raised my AC. And as you can see, like, at level 17, your proficiency is plus 6. Like, adding a 6 to your AC for the cost of just your reaction is incredible. When I first got it, I think my proficiency bonus was just a plus 4. But that's still really, really good. So, yeah, defensive duelist is a crazy, crazy useful ability. So there was deflect missile attack, opportunist. This is another thing that I don't think I ever I used maybe once or twice because I got it at such a high level that I wasn't playing it as much. And then slow fall was the other thing that I just used constantly. It would be like, oh, bad things are happening, I'll just jump off this cliff or something. It's like, well, you're gonna take a lot of damage. No, I won't. Oh, crazy. The phrase was crazy monk shit. And so, yeah, I would jump off of like 40-foot high buildings and take no damage, because I could, or I would shadow step into the air 60 feet, to attack something in the air. And then I just fall to the ground and be perfectly fine. Cause, the damage that you took for every 10 feet, it was, a D6. And as you can see, I can reduce it by 85. So 66 at most gets you 36 damage. So even when, because it was your class level times 5. So even when I was lower levels, like at level 10, that was still 50 damage I could reduce it by. I never took falling damage. Then we had all my key point stuff. And then again, Stunning Strike was the thing that I did constantly. It's the reason that my wisdom was so high, and why I raised my wisdom before raising my dexterity was because I used a lot of Stunning Strikes, and so having a really high wisdom score was essential. So yeah, and then, like I said, I had, for magic items, I had my Ionic Stone of Protection, I had my Belt of Dwarven Kind, which is very useful. I had my Opal of the Ildrune, which I got from Storm King's Thunder. That season was when they introduced magic runes. And genuinely, I thought they were some of the coolest magic items that they added to 5th edition, because again, what they allowed you to do, the rune itself, you could do stuff. Like if you just had the rune on you, it was a little stone with the rune on it, you could do this stuff. You could ignite, which you can't see on there. You could ignite, you'd have resistance to cold damage, and then as an action, you could extinguish any open flame within 10 feet of you. But you could also use the Gift of Flame and do this, where the weapon would basically get extra fire damage, or the armor gave you resistance to cold damage. Yeah, it was... They were really, really cool, and I loved them. And so I was very, very happy when I was able to get this from one of the adventures. And then again, the Trident of Warding. I remember the adventure that I got this from. It was, I think it was called the Drowned Tower, which is one of the Season 1 adventures. And at the end of it, they had this Trident of Warding. And first of all, nobody wanted to use a Trident because early 5th edition D&D spears and polearms in general were just shitty weapons. Like they didn't do anything to make them useful. And the Trident specifically was just not a good weapon at all. There were so many better things you could do. And so nobody wanted it. And I didn't have any magic items at this point. So I went, well, I'll take it. And yeah, it was by far one of the most useful magic items that I had. Because I had a really high dexterity score. So my initiative was already pretty good, and then I had advantage on it. I was always going first or second, and it was great. Even with my notoriously bad rolls, I would still, when I rolled poorly, I would still be in the middle of the pack to be able to do some really, really useful stuff. So, yeah, and then the rest of this stuff, I don't think I have all the... It was one of the things we would do constantly. You might notice I have a lot of money. There really wasn't anything to spend gold on in early Adventures League stuff. So the only thing you would ever do, and I think I just forgot to transfer it to this character sheet, because the character sheet that I had this character for, I had a PDF that I would just update anytime we played, and then I would print that PDF out and would actually use it when I played games in person. And so what generally you would do when you started getting a lot of gold, you would always have at least, I think, 1,200 gold in on your character, because that was how much a resurrection costed. So if your character died at the end of the adventures, as long as your party could carry your body back, you could pay for the resurrection fee and you wouldn't lose your character. So you always kept at least, I think it was 1,250 on your character at all times. Then anything after that, you would just buy shit tons of potions. At one point, I think I had like 20 or 30 potions of healing, because those are the only potions you were allowed to buy. You weren't allowed to buy the really high-end, like, superior potions of superior healing or anything. You could only buy the regular ones. But what it meant is, between battles, you would just chug like 5 or 6 of these potions of healing, and you'd be perfectly fine. And no one ever had to worry about healing. So yeah, that was Aether. I still love Aether. One of these days, I would like to play him again, enough to get him up to level 20. I would love to get Aether up to level 20, which in the Adventures League would probably only take me, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 adventures, depending on the adventures that we chose. So if I could find someone that would run old Adventures League content, I could probably get him up to level 20, which would be really cool, because I'd love to have a character that I actually played all the way to level 20. But I did get him to level 17, and I loved him. I think I actually had enough experience banked. I had enough rewards, downtime days, that I could pop him up to 18 to get him into tier 4 content. So it might be that he could be 18. I'd have to look at my sheets and everything, but anyway, so that's Aether, my first Critical Role character. The next one, I actually did get a chance to kind of play them, but it wasn't in D&D. This is name. Oh, I guess I should tell you guys the backstory for this character. So, the backstory for this character. The reason he was an Eladrin was he grew up, and this is something that I do with these Critical Role characters, is I leave a lot of their backstory points kind of vague, because my idea for this character was basically, if Matt Mercer ever like called me up and said, "Hey Jody, we need someone to play in a game on Thursday. Do you want to play?" I'd be able to go, "I already have a character." And then all I'd have to do is sit down with Matt and go, "Okay, this is kind of my backstory. How does it fit into your world? Where can we fit this into your world?" So the backstory for Aether, which again, if you want to actually experience the backstory, the video is still on my channel. So if you want to go years and years and years, about 10 years back, to find it, you can find, I think it's called like Aether Introduction or something like that. You can find me narrating his backstory in the style of Critical Role's old character intros. But anyway, the idea was he grew up in a society where magic was really, really important. And it was one of the things that gave you status in society. Like, the more powerful your magic, the better you were looked upon by your peers and things like that. And Aether was born with an inability to actually cast magic spells in any way, shape, or form. He was just completely incapable of using magic. And so I was kind of an embarrassment to my family. And there were a number of things that people could do if you were rich enough that would kind of hide it. And one of the things that you could do was you could basically give your kid over to this Assassin's Guild, effectively. And they would teach them how to be a monk, which could mimic spellcasting, so that it would look like you could cast spells, but you still wouldn't have any magical ability. And so that's what they did. And I joined this thing that they taught me to be a shadow monk. And then the kind of graduation for this thing is they send you on an assassination mission. And what they do is they don't tell you who you're assassinating, but you do have a guild member with you for the assassination. And so when you get there, they'll just tell you where the target is. And when I got there, I realized that it was my mother that I had to assassinate. And that's basically what they did, is they would get these kids, and then to really kind of erase the slate so that they never had to worry about anyone looking for them or figuring out what's going on, they would just kill off the family. And by having the kid who's been basically brainwashed through their entire training, they would... a lot of times they would do what they were told because that's what they've been trained to do, and that act of doing something horrible to someone that you love was enough to kind of break ties with everything else and make them very, very loyal to the organization. Well, my character didn't like that. Tried to fight. That's where he got his scar, is his... the reason they send a guild member along is if the student isn't able to do it, the guild member does, and then either they kill the student if they think they're not worth it, or they use that event to kind of finally fulfill the brainwashing. So this character, when it happened, he tried to fight off the guild member, was unsuccessful. The guild member ended up killing his family. But at that point, Aether just got kind of so overwhelmed with emotion that his inherent natural magic ability activated, and he used phase step without realizing what it was, and so he teleported out of there, and feeling so ashamed, he just left, and abandoned everything, abandoned the entire society, and the only thing he was good at, the only skills that he had, was killing people. So he became an assassin for hire. And that was the backstory for my character. So yeah, cool character. I still really love him. Want to play him again. So yeah, now let's move to my next character. So this is the character that I made. I want to say this was for campaign 3. I believe it was for campaign 3. It might have been that this was my campaign 2 character. And I think that might have been it. It might have been that this was my campaign 2 character, and I just didn't make one for campaign 3 because, again, I just never got into campaign 3. But this is nameless. He is a Harengon. He's a bunny. And And you may notice a theme. I didn't realize that I had kind of a theme to my characters until I made my third one. I went, oh boy. But this is also a monk. But instead of being a shadow monk, this is a a way of mercy monk. And I built this character specifically because I liked the idea of the way of mercy monk. And I'd never really gotten I had a good idea about how it would actually play because I never got a chance to actually play it. So yeah, I came up with this character. So the backstory for this character. This is a character, and this is the other thing that I was kind of fervent about, was the idea that this is a character that didn't have a tragic backstory. Like a lot of my characters had, the parents died or something like this. I wanted this guy to have just a great childhood and have some other motivation for becoming an adventurer. So he grew up on a farm with his mother and father. His father was significantly older than him. He was kind of a very late child in their marriage, and he had no problem working the farm. He enjoyed working the farm. It was where he started learning a little bit of his martial arts, because while he was in the field, he would, while he was tilling the soil or something, he'd like and kind of practice and kind of taught himself martial arts as he was working on the farm. And eventually his father passed away, not from death or disease or someone killed him. No, he was just old, and on his deathbed, he was very happy. He said nice things to his kid and to his wife, and he felt that he'd lived a very fulfilling life. At the funeral, he met a bunch of people that he'd never seen before, that his father had this huge impact on. He talked to one of them, and he found out that his father, in addition to running a farm and supporting his family, worshipped a forgotten god of unconditional love. And as all of these people kept showing up to his father's funeral, saying just how impactful his father had been, he talked to one of them. He's like, well, what did my dad do? He's like, he just came and he told me that I was loved and I deserved love, and it changed my life. And this is actually inspired. There was a television show in the 90s, which, growing up in a very conservative Christian household, we watched all the time. It was called Touched by an Angel. And I know the name now. Back then, it sounded weird. But the whole premise of the show is there is this character played by Roma Downey, who's this wonderful Irish actress. She was an angel that every episode she would be sent down to Earth to help someone that was going through a crisis. They were going through a really, really tough part in their life, and they were going to make some sort of a bad decision. And every episode, Monica would start to get to know this person. They'd have no idea she was an angel. And she had this mentor person named Tess, who was played by Della Reese. If you don't know who Della Reese was, she was a phenomenal singer. She was just absolutely amazing with this incredible, powerful voice. She sang gospel and jazz. She was so amazing. She was a phenomenal actress as well. I was really upset when she passed away. So they would try and help these people, and there'd always be this big part of the episode where it'd be really emotional, and the person's like, I don't know what to do. And then they would get like a spotlight directly above Roma Downey, and it would shoot this bright white light on her. And so she would just be wreathed in white light. And she would go, I am an angel sent by God to tell you that he loves you. And it was always this huge emotional thing. And it stuck with me for a really, really long time, because being an abuse survivor and having friends that were abuse survivors and things like that, one of the things that you struggle with for a really, really long time is just a really, really common uh, defense mechanism that abuse victims use is they blame themselves for the abuse. They basically go, well, this was my fault. Because the idea that someone could do something so horrible to you, and just because they felt that you need to, doesn't make sense in your brain. And so the way that your brain makes it work is it does two things. One, it justifies it so that, well, this is just how life works. You know, there people have good days and they have bad days, and unfortunately, you know, you had a bad day when this person abused you. That's just how life works. And the second thing you do is that you kind of justify, well, it's my fault. You know, if I hadn't overcooked the chicken, then he wouldn't have gotten mad and he wouldn't have hurt me. You know, so it's a completely explainable. You know, if I just have to make sure that I cook better next time. So that's what it was. And one of the things that abuse victims struggle with is this idea of them being worthy of being loved. And I've had conversations with people that were remarkably profound, where it was just them saying, no, you don't deserve this. This wasn't your fault. You are loved and you deserve to be loved. And it's an incredibly powerful experience to have someone tell you that. And so that's where this character, you know, the kind of concept for it came from, is like, well, what if this character was built around that idea? Like, so after finding out that his father served this like forgotten god of unconditional love, he went looking, and he eventually found the secret shrine that his father had made to this forgotten god. And the god got in touch with him and kind of explained, yeah, your father was one of my disciples. He was wonderful and amazing, and he deserves the rest that he has. He worked very, very hard. And the character was so moved that, first of all, there was an entire side of his father that he never knew. And second of all, that his father could have such an incredible effect and profound effect on people, that he went, you know what, I want to follow in my father's footsteps. And so in order to fully devote himself to this God of unconditional love, he gave up his name. He just went, I'm no longer connected to my past life or anything. I am wholly devoted to this cause. It is very, very important. And so I referred to him as nameless, but basically anytime somebody would ask for his name, he would go, Will. And he had a very deep voice, because he was like a 7-foot tall bunny. And so when he would show up, like I would describe him as, he's this kind of like cream and brown colored bunny that stands at about 7 feet tall without his ears. So this massive, massive bunny would just come, you know, wandering over, and he would just look at people and go, hello there. It's wonderful to meet you. And so when people would ask him, well, what's your name? He's like, well, what name do you think I have? What name do you think would fit me well? And whatever name they would go, that's a wonderful name. You can call me that. And they go, well, what's your real name? I have no name. But whatever you would like to call me, you are more than welcome to call me. And that was the entire point of this character, is that he would just wander around, using his martial arts to kind of prevent combat, but to also protect those that needed protecting. He was very much, would do everything he could to be non-lethal. But he also understood the idea that, you know, truly loving someone and loving people doesn't mean that you never correct them or you never stop them from doing bad things. There are some times when love calls for you to take action, to protect people, to prevent worse things from happening. So it wasn't that he was a complete pacifist. He just preferred to try and solve things without, you know, actual conflict or things like that. So he's trained in persuasion, religion, stuff like that, because of course he was. Um, and yeah, it was a really cool character. I wish I'd had a chance to play it. And like I said, uh, I did get to play a version of this character, kind of. During the hiatus between my first Zelda campaign and my second Zelda campaign for Zelda Universe, my buddy Elias ran an open legend, like I think it was a 2-shot or something like that. It was supposed to be a 1-shot, never was a 1-shot with us. It'd always take us like 2 or 3 sessions to get through it. And so I had to build a character, and so I built a monk in open legend that was a reaction based monk. Like, he never used his action on his turn, but he was built to be able to redirect attacks and heal. Like, those are the 2 things that he did. He redirected attacks and he healed. That was all that he did. And it broke the campaign, because mechanically how it worked is whenever an enemy would make an attack and I was within, I think, half my speed, which is about like I think it was like 20 feet, was half my speed, because I think I had like 40 or 50 speed at that point, because that's how I built the character. So as long as they were within half my speed, I could run and redirect the attack and throw it right back at them. And so every single, and I built the character to have, and that would take my reaction normally, which normally that would mean that I'd have to sacrifice my action on my turn to do that. But I built the character so he had like 3 or 4 reactions he could do every turn, and then I just never did anything on my turn. So I always had that extra reaction available. And so yeah, that's the character was just built on the idea of a reactive character. But he was still, hello, very nice to meet you. He had no name. And because it was in the Legend of Zelda universe, they didn't really have a pantheon. They had the 3 goddesses and then Hylia, and that was it. So in that version of him, he never actually got a chance to, be that disciple of unconditional love. But I still got to play around with him. So the character itself, as you can see, I leveled him up to level 10. Because I think that's when because I would level him up with the cast. And so I think I stopped watching, and that's why I think this is campaign 2. I think I stopped watching campaign 2 around the like level 10, level 11 mark. Yeah, so he's level 10, and I made some custom weapons. This is his bunchucks. They're nunchucks, but they're bunchucks, because they're bunny chucks, because he's a bunny. And then his attack was his bunny bop. I kind of went to town with his character. I genuinely just really adored the things that I could do. As you can see, bunny bop. You make a melee attack that involves using your body to do one of the following effects: damage, grapple, or shove. Hand of healing. So again, he had the ability to heal and harm with the character. And then the other thing that was kind of cool, he had Rabbit Hop. As a bonus action, you can jump 20 feet without provoking opportunity attacks, which was similar to the teleportation that I had with my Shadow Monk. It was just, I got to do bunny jumping instead. So yeah. And then another thing he had was Lucky Footwork, which was useful. And then he had the Hand of Harm thing, and then I took some feats as well, which I'll deal with in a second here. But that was, yeah, the cool stuff. Because I never actually played this character, he didn't have any magic items or anything. It was just the stuff that came with the character. But I did give him a number of feats, if I remember correctly. So this is all the Way of Mercy stuff. So Hands of Healing was his ability to heal, which fit for a love-based character. And then Hand of Harm was effectively, hey, I gave you a chance. If you continue to attempt to hurt these people, I'm going to have to prevent you from doing that. And that's where Hand of Harm would come in. And then it was one of the things I liked about the Way of Mercy is that as you leveled up, it just made your Hand of Harm and Hand of what was the other one? Hand of Healing just get better and better, and they were pretty cool and awesome. And then I took an ability score increase for, or no. Here's my feat. So, did I only have one? Yeah, I think the rest went into ability score increases. So the one feat that I took was Crusher, because um, it basically allowed this to be a better controller, where anytime I hit a creature, or once per turn, if I hit a creature with an attack that deals bludgeoning damage, I could move it 5 feet. So it allowed me to kind of move characters around. And then if I ever got a crit, everybody got advantage on attack rolls against them. So this was a really nice support move, because I could use it to move the character around a little bit. That was nice. And it also increased my con score, which was useful as well, because con is useful for a monk. And then he was a far traveler, because he came from a very far away, because again, he was the bunny man. And my faith was love. And then I also would fill out these things back then. I didn't do it for my most recent character, because I kind of fell out of habit of it. So yeah, this was Nameless, and again, really cool character that I would love to play in an adventure sometime. And this one, like, Aether is really, really tied to the Shadow Monk abilities. Like, the things that define Aether are built into the Shadow Monk, to the point where the 2024 version of the Shadow Monk, I wouldn't try to make Aether in that, because it changed enough that it doesn't feel like the same character anymore. For Nameless, it was more ideals than anything else, and I wouldn't. And again, I never got to play as the character, so I'm not quite as attached to the mechanics of it. So that's why, again, I wasn't really upset with the idea of creating him an open legend and not having the quote-unquote Hand of Mercy techniques, but still being able to heal and still being able to fight defensively. Let's say that. So, yeah. Fun character, really cool. Moving on. So again, I believe I just didn't create a character, or I don't remember the character I created for campaign 3. But we go to campaign 4. This is Timbre. And if anyone's wondering what in the hell that name comes from, Timbre is actually a musical word. Like, it has other meanings as well, but as far as how it relates to music, the timbre of a sound is kind of the it's also referred to as like the color of the sound, but it's like the quality of the sound, not like how good or bad a sound, but just like the physical qualities of the sound. So like the timbre of an instrument, like the timbre of, a trumpet might be very kind of bright and brassy, whereas like the timbre of a tuba is going to be more kind of muddled and broad. That's what timbre means. So that's where the name comes from, timbre. And you guys may have noticed, I did not do this intentionally. I was actually planning on not making a monk this time, because my last 2 Critical Role characters have been monks. However, first of all, they don't have a monk. And they have 13 characters, not a single one's a monk. Like, what's up with that? Why ain't there a monk? It's kind of bullshit. You can have like 17 warlocks, but no monks, huh? Is that how it goes? So anyway, I made a monk, but specifically, since they used the 2024 rules, I was going to build this character exclusively using the 2024 rules. And one of the things that I think the 2024 rules does significantly better than anything else I've seen other than a few homebrews is the Elemental Monk is nearly unplayable in the 2014 version of D&D. It's not that it's completely unplayable. I actually built, funnily enough, for Acquisitions Incorporated, I also created a character if I was ever called up. Mike and Jerry, call me. I did a thing where I created a character for that, and he was actually going to be an elemental monk, but his backstory was basically he served a god of commerce, and he was sent by that god to effectively tell Jerry's character Omen. Oh yeah, Acquisitions Incorporated is an insult to commerce. You guys have ruined economies over and over again, and I'm here to tell you that the god of commerce has taken notice, and you need to shape up, or we're going to just erase your business from existence. So I'm here to help you. And every single ability he had was based on economics or marketing terms. His flurry of blows was called Porter's Four Forces, mostly because in economics there's this thing called Porter's Five Forces, and I would just go, well, he hasn't found the fifth one yet because this is supposed to be medieval times, so he's only found four of the five yet. And then like his fire, he had a fire-based attack, and it was like, oh, this is a fire sale, and like I literally just made all of these economics and marketing puns over and over and over again. I think I even had a SWOT analysis in there or something like that. Like it was just something I thought would be really, really fun. Mike and Jerry have never called me to join Acquisitions Incorporated, which I take as a personal offense, seeing as I am friends with Chris Perkins. Yeah. So anyway, the new version of because that one was just supposed to be a joke character, it wouldn't really matter that the character kind of sucked mechanically. However, the new flavor of the Elemental Monk is really cool and significantly more interesting to play. And so I figured if I'm going to make a 2024 based character, which I'm not a fan of a lot of the choices they made in 2024, I think they made the game worse. But this particular one I think is pretty good. So if anyone's wondering where my stats came from, I rolled them. And this is a perfect example. When I was building the character, I forgot your ability score increases are no longer tied to race, because that's racist. You know, saying that all races are the same, that's racist. Despite the fact that since Tasha's Culture of Everything, they've completely removed you being forced to take particular stat increases, and you could just take whatever stat increases you want. Well, in 2024, they now tie your ability score increases to your background, which I guess you can say makes slightly more sense. However, you can't opt out of using the ones in there and just choose your own. No, you are required to, and because of the background that I chose for this particular character, I wasn't able to increase my dexterity at all. And I rolled my stats thinking I would be able to add +2 to one thing and +1 to another, which is going to be both wisdom and dexterity. And I couldn't do that. I had to increase my constitution because that was the only one I was allowed to choose. It's kind of dumb. It massively felt like a step backwards. So anyway, so this character, the background of it is this is a character that not only just grew up in the wilderness, but he was actually raised entirely by elemental spirits. And he kind of has like an Avatar, The Last Airbender kind of vibe, where he can control all these different elements and stuff like that. And so I really kind of like that. But he eventually starts going out into the world because his only friends are elemental spirits that he's not 100% certain are sentient. Like he's had these guesses, like, did I make up that they were talking to me, or are they actually, I don't know. And so he wanted to go out and actually meet real people. And so that's why he became a quote unquote adventurer, is just to experience what actual life with real live sapient beings is like. And so he'd be kind of, not really a super like innocent, but very, very impressed with just about everything. Because again, he grew up in the wilderness with elemental spirits. So yeah, so as you might notice that he's level 4 and the character's level 3. The reason I did that, first of all, I don't expect that Brennan is going to be calling me up anytime soon to, jump into his 13-person table. So I think I'm pretty safe in adding an extra level. And adding an extra level allowed me to take a feat that increased my dexterity, because it was a 15 when I started and I wanted to get it up to 16. So that's why he's level 4. But it also kind of dictated how I'm going to play the character too. So this is the character. Um, One of the things you could get as part of just being a monk is you could take a spear. And I thought that was really cool because, again, spears are massively underutilized in D&D in general. And I thought it might be kind of cool to have a spear monk. Because spears are a kung fu weapon. And having an elemental monk that uses technically a quarterstaff with a pointy end, I thought felt pretty good. So I have a spear there, but it's mostly, and then the dagger again was just something that came with the character. But most of the stuff I'm going to be doing is going to be my unarmed strike and then my elemental assisted strikes. If you're wondering why I have a 15-foot reach, we'll explain that in a little bit. I also took for my background the hermit, because again, it felt right that he was raised, away from everything. So the hermit was the one that felt like it fit the best for it. And so because of that, the feat that I got as part of the hermit was, let me find it here, was the healer feat that I got from hermit. So it gives me the ability to use healer's kits to heal people, and then I can reroll heals. And it's actually a pretty useful feat if you use it correctly. We'll go into the rest of this in a second here, but so yeah. And then also he's a Hadozi, not because I'm super in love with the controversy that was the Hadozi when it came out. No, I just kind of like the idea of being a sentient monkey man. And one of the racial abilities for the Hadozi is that they can use, as a bonus action, they can use their feet as if they're hands to interact with things. And I just kind of like the idea of this elemental monk that grew up in the wilderness being raised by elemental spirits, also being able to go full beast, from the X-Men, where every so often you'll see him just hanging from the ceiling, reading a book or doing something like that. I haven't picked a voice for him yet. I thought about kind of doing a combination of Yoda or Grover. For anyone that doesn't know, Grover from Sesame Street and Yoda from Star Wars are both voiced by Frank Oz. And he basically used almost the exact same voice for them. So the yes, I thought about that being the voice of Titatamber, but it's a rough voice to use. I have to really warm up to do it well without damaging my voice, and I can't do it for really, really extended periods of time. So I'm kind of kicking around the idea of what the voice for Tamber would be. If anyone's wondering what Aether sounded like, Aether was just a posh British dude. He was just, hello, and my name is Aether. I speak with a very lovely accent, and I'm condescending to everyone. So I haven't quite found Tamber's timbre. But he does have some cool things that he can do. So he's got the Battle Medic, which again is just remarkably useful. Healing is significantly more useful in 2024 than it was in 2014 for D&D, because they basically just doubled all healing spells, or most healing spells. But the Battle Medic is still useful. If somebody goes down or anything, I can just go over there and heal them with a healer's kit to bring them back up. And it's based on hit point dice, not like a roll. So characters with more hit points will get more hit points and things like that. So that's cool. And then Elemental Strikes is the other thing that I find interesting. So what Elemental Strikes does, it increases your reach by 10 feet. So you can attack by up to 15 feet away. You can change the damage type to any kind of element. So acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. And one of the other kind of more unique things about 2024 Unarmed Strikes is Unarmed Strikes, you can just do damage, but you can also grapple with them. And because this is an unarmed strike, can still do that. And as a monk, one of the features of the monk in 2024 is you can use Dex instead of Strength for the attack and damage rolls of your unarmed strike and monk weapons. In addition, when you use the grapple or shove option of your unarmed strike, you can use Dex instead of Strength to determine the save DC. So I thought it would be really interesting for this character if a combination of their elemental strikes and grappling, they were a grapple monk. And so I actually, for my feat, because I needed a feat that increased dexterity, and so I took the grappler feat to increase my dex, and then when I hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can use both the damage and the grapple option, but I can only do that once per turn. And I have advantage on attack rolls against creatures grappled by me. And you don't have to spend extra movement to move a creature grappled by you if the creature is your size or smaller. So, as long as I'm grappling something medium or smaller, I can grapple them from 15 feet away, which in my mind is like I shoot out like a wave of water and I wrap them with it. And then I can just move them around with me, which I love. And I think is a super, super cool idea that you can have for a character. And then I can do damage as I'm grappling them, which is very, very cool. Yeah, so I thought that would be very, very cool. And then I also have How Does He Dodge, which is very useful. Basically, I can use my reaction to reduce damage, which combined with my monk abilities, which I don't think I get until level 5. Monks eventually get the ability to deflect attacks and things like that. So that's very, very useful. And then in addition to the elemental strikes, and I can push people away if I don't want to grapple them. So very kind of movement-based character. Where technically with the grappler, what I can do on my turn, especially once I get extra attack, for my main action, since I only have one attack right now, I can attack, grapple one target. For my bonus action, I can attack and push away another target. So I've now singled this one out. And then for my movement, I can just drag them wherever I want them to go. So very interesting, cool, kicky character. And then the elementalism cantrip just allows me to do cool elemental stuff. Doesn't really have a huge impact on combat, but for role-playing and stuff like that, I can have fun being able to make elemental stuff just happen, which I really, really enjoy. And then I already have my slow fall, which is super fun. So yeah, I chose medium size. And then as a bonus action, you can use your feet to manipulate an object, open or close a door or container, or pick up or set down a tiny object. So dexterous feet, I really, really like. And then they also have the ability to glide, which I also think is kind of cool. So yeah, this would be another one where, again, it's intentionally left kind of vague-ish to where I can go, okay, this is my idea for a character. How could it fit into the world? Because again, Brennan hasn't really given us a huge primer on the world that they're playing in. Like, we know some big points about it, but we've never seen like a map of the country or anything like that. They've never done like a deep dive into the thing, which Brendan actually mentioned in the fireside chat or after talk, whatever it's called. They put the first episode after talk on the Critical Role YouTube channel, so you don't have to have Beacon to watch the first one. The rest of them you have to watch on Beacon. But so yeah, were Brennan to call me up and go, "Hey Jody, why don't you play with us?" I would sit down with Brennan and go, "Okay, I want to play a character that kind of grew up raised by elemental spirits, and so he became a warrior of the elements monk by basically training himself and being trained by the spirits. Like, he learned martial arts from fire spirits and wind spirits and earth spirits and water spirits and things like that, and that's why he does this. And he learned the martial arts to be able to survive in the wild. Like, he hunts. He's not like a pure, pacifist or something like that. Like, he hunts and traps and things like that and forages, because that's how he survived until, like, I'm thinking that this character's in his mid to early 20s. So yeah, he got pretty far, but he eventually got kind of bored by just having all of his interactions be with elemental spirits that weren't great conversationalists, and so he ran out into the world to actually learn what the world is like. He would be completely unaware of the gods and goddesses that used to be there and the political stuff. Like he none of that mattered. He lived in the woods with a bunch of spirits. So yeah, overall, again, I think this would be a massively fun character to play. And like I said, Brennan, call me. You know, you were so thrilled that you get to talk to Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford whenever you need help. I'm friends with Chris Perkins. So I'm just saying, like, give me a call and I will 100% not show up because I can't physically leave my house, but I will totally zoom into a session of Critical Role. Anyway, like I said, this is something I've done for almost every Critical Role campaign. Like I said, I think I just skipped campaign 3 for this. Or if I did make a character, I forgot them very quickly. I might have created my card throwing character for campaign 3. I can't remember. But when I was looking through the various characters that I have, I couldn't think of one that kind of fit. So, yeah. Anyway, I thought it was cool, and it's like I said, it's something that I do for every Kiki campaign. If I ever find another like live play series that I really get into, I will probably do the same thing. Because for me, this is a puzzle. This is a little activity that I can do that just is more fun. What I used to do for campaign 1 is when they were doing things, I would kind of, like when I was watching the episode, I would kind of go, well, if Aether was there, he'd be able to do this, this, and this, and that would fix all of these things for them. Man, if only they'd thought to bring Aether with them. And now I don't do that because it doesn't seem as much fun. It does seem a little bit creepy of inserting myself into their stories. But yeah, I like to have a character prepped because I'm never going to get a chance to play with Critical Role. But if it ever does happen, I've got a cool character I can play. So interested to hear from you guys. First of all, what did you think of my characters? Second of all, have you ever done anything like this? Or, on the flip side, do you want to try doing this? Build a character. And it doesn't actually have to be for Critical Role. If there's another live play series that you really enjoy, whatever system they use, build a character for it as if you were going to play in it with them. It's fun. Again, the reason that I chose a monk for a 4th time, other than the fact that I like monks, is there were no monks. So I was looking for kind of a position that I could fill in the party. And I thought the fact that there was no monks was a travesty. The other thing I thought about building was a barbarian. But to be blunt, I have a barbarian that I played in the Adventurers League because, again, a table needed a character. But I just haven't had as much fun creating barbarians as I had with other things. So in this particular instance, I'm like, well, I have to use the 2024 rules. Why not do something that I thought was cool, which is the new elemental monk. I think is really, really cool. I think the new shadow monk is dumb. But the new elemental monk is really, really cool. Yeah. So like I said, let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to share your characters if you make them because of this video or if you already had them. And yeah, it's all for me today. I'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.